So moving on to, we're a bit more busy on the vaccine issue. Obviously, the whole country is up in arms around this. And Greg, are you unmuted?
Yes.
So Greg and I have been busy bees with Capitol Hill staffers. Just a couple of days ago, we did a big Zoom with Congressman Gohmert on his bill modeled after our proposal to not only give everyone the right to say no to COVID shots, but to any shots based on a pattern of studies showing the childhood schedule really as a big cause of the real epidemic of chronic disease. Because Greg, the human vaccine encyclopedia, and I have done pretty well with a few offices, the word has gotten around, and now we're helping other offices. So we helped Congressman Duncan, who's on the Key Energy and Commerce Committee, with a letter cautioning the Medicare bureaucrats not to require vaccination of people in their institutions tied to Medicare, which means nurses and long-term care facility staff. And we're working with another congressman on the big elephant in the room. There's several elephants, right, Greg?
That's right.
on liability, which would be the sort of panacea. And we have a new office we're working with on the liability end. But for now, our big one is with Congressman Gohmert. And he really wants our help to get original co-sponsors before the bill is introduced. So you have that sample letter. Again, the website, thenhf.com/campaigns. Just click say no to vaccine mandates, and you'll get that letter sent. So that's the priority for today. What are your thoughts, Greg, on these offices, their different approaches, where we are, and then the bigger picture that this is a tipping point. We have to seize it.
Yes. In my career, I have never experienced as much success as I'm experiencing right now with NHF. Doors are opening. Congressmen are listening. They want to know the things that our health freedom movement has been studying and learning over decades. For the first time, they're really interested in the childhood vaccination schedule. They're really interested in COVID-19 vaccination and the FDA approval. They're interested in the liability of vaccine manufacturers, the liability of employers who are mandating vaccination, and the skills that I've developed over the years in reading law and knowing how our health freedom movement wants to change the law. I've been able to implement through NHF by getting language over to these legislators. And they're very receptive and interested. So this puts NHF right at the forefront of helping to create change in America, ideally very soon, within the year. That would be great. And the obstacle currently is the political climate in Washington, D.C. That we all know who controls Congress, and these initiatives, these bills, tend to be aligned with freedom and conservatism. And so the change that we are seeking is likely to coincide with a shift in the political sphere. You can almost imagine a sphere or a dome and where it's moving. And whichever way it moves, that's where the protection will be. And so I'm optimistic for a bright future, and you can count on NHF to keep everyone updated on the developments as these bills are introduced and as they make progress through Congress. And Charlie also asked me about the big picture. Where's the change supposed to come from? I think that first and foremost, the vaccine schedule, the CDC vaccine schedule, is the real threat to this country. It is unproven. It is harmful and dangerous. And freedom is a excellent rallying point for individuals, that we want the freedom to choose. But before we even get to freedom, really, there's this scientific point, which is that these vaccines are harmful and they are destroying this country. And so I'm very encouraged to hear that members of Congress are willing to look at that and willing to consider the health of the unvaccinated, the health of people who are completely unvaccinated. They are the control group. They are the requirement for us to even do science in the first place. And so that inescapable logic that we need a control group is resonating with members of Congress. And I'm so pleased that NHF can take the lead in carrying the torch for the fully unvaccinated as the control group, because good science is going to make for good law. And we are right there at the forefront.
Excuse me. Thanks, Ray. Let me emphasize the significance of what we call the NICE bill, the National Informed Consent Exemption Act, for which our website, the nhf.com/campaigns, has a sample letter you can send right now asking your representative to support the Gohmert NICE bill. And it is significant because it takes this huge skepticism of the COVID vaccine onto all vaccines, which is doable because now, this Tuesday, right, Greg, the FDA is probably going to approve extension of these still emergency-only vaccines to kids as young as 5 years old. And thank you for bringing up that graph. Everyone look at that graph. That is what is selling our bill with Congress. They're realizing that with the kids under threat of the COVID shots, what about the 72 doses of the other dozen shots they have to get before high school? And what is it doing? These graphs don't lie. It is stark. This is the real epidemic. And that's the language we use to open their minds. You know, they're already skeptical about this COVID hysteria, but there is an epidemic. It's called chronic disease.
That's exactly right. You know, this COVID, in a sense, is an opportunity because it has opened the minds of Congress to look at something that they have chosen not to look at in decades. And our children are suffering big time. More than half of all children are suffering a chronic illness of some sort, something that makes life really hard. You know, and that term chronic illness doesn't do justice to what I'm trying to say. Life is hard when you have a chronic illness. When you have diabetes, if you're a child and you have diabetes, you know how hard that is? It changes everything about what it means to be human, to be alive. Cancer, neurodevelopmental disorders. If your brain is not working properly, that is so serious. And for the first time, COVID is opening the minds of Congress to consider vaccination and to consider how vaccination is destroying this country and also other countries. And so it's time to reverse the trajectory. You know, the chronic illness rate in the past has doubled about every 12 years. I mean, you get to a point where it can't double anymore. You know, you're above 50%. And so this issue is such a bellwether for how to protect children. And so I'm pleased that we have the science now to back up these initiatives.
And in our call yesterday with a particular office trying to help the soldiers, Greg, remember he said these, especially the special operation soldiers, are declining the experiment, and they're the top of the human chain there, yeah. Mind, body, and soul. And then we conversed that, you know, the survey showed that the biggest cohort declining participation are PhDs, as well as a whole bunch of nurses risking their livelihoods, losing their jobs, and to avoid this experiment. And we have one of them. Alex, is Jennifer Bridges on the line, and can she unmute herself?
Yes, she is. And I even have on standby a little bit of her speech from the Texas House of Representatives press conference. So welcome, Jennifer.
Hi, how's everybody doing? Great to be here again.
Good.
Jennifer, great to have you again. How is it out there? The nurses, we hear about the closing of hospital wards, emergency rooms, baby wards, maternity wards, nurses desperate to find humane hospitals to work at. And of course, there's the whistleblowing going on about what's really going on in the hospitals. What is your latest on that?
Well, there's a huge amount of whistleblowing going on right now, and it's great because so many more people are standing up and refusing to take this shot all across the country. So I'm talking to a lot of them in different states, but there's tremendous numbers. And a lot of the nurses are verifying that are still in the hospitals, you know, the same things we're hearing, you know, that many units are shut down, that they're not even using their full capacity. So it's making it look like COVID is overrunning their system when really they have full units and huge areas that aren't even being utilized because they have more of a nursing shortage right now than almost anything. So there's so much of a nursing shortage going on, and now they're firing hundreds to thousands of nurses in like every single state, every entity. And then I don't know if you've heard this, but their solution to this is to bring in agency and travel nurses from anywhere in the country, from other countries as well, to fill the spots. But some of these agencies don't even require the vaccination. And I have the documented proof because some of these nurses have seeked me out to share with me all this. So they're literally busting in agency nurses, paying them double to triple the price of what we normally make. And a lot of them aren't even vaccinated to fill our spots of the ones getting fired. And they're also busting in FEMA nurses. And as of right now, FEMA nurses don't have to be vaccinated. Like I've talked to several FEMA nurses, and they're talking about requiring it, and they're kind of getting there, but they're not there yet. So they're busing even around where I live, even here in Texas, the FEMA nurses are getting bussed in like crazy to fill a bunch of shortage spots, and they don't even have the shot. It's literally the most ludicrous thing I've ever seen when it comes to that. And they're also very, very much saying that this whole, you know, it's all about the unvaccinated is such a lie, because the vaccinated patients are filling up the rooms just as much. They're still on ventilators. They're still dying. We know it's not preventing anything. I mean, the whole situation just, I'm hoping one day I'm going to wake up from this bad dream, because it makes absolutely no sense.
Well, I think the American press is. I have an echo, Alex. Are there some unmuted people that we want to mute? If everyone can unmute, if everyone can mute themselves and they're not speaking, that will help Zooms in general. Thank you. I think, Jennifer, there's progress. While we all know from Israel and the UK that most of the COVID hospitalized were vaccinated, and we had certain counties in America report that over the last couple of months. They've, you know, the CDC has manipulated data to bend over backwards to avoid that same dynamic here, but they can't anymore. And so now you see press saying it's okay for COVID vaccinated to die in the hospital. There's an article I saw today. They're trying to rationalize it now, so they're not even fighting it. So thank you for that, Jennifer. How can folks get in touch with you and help you go what's next for you, Jennifer?
Well, we've been very busy lately. Oh, am I muted? No. Okay. We've been very busy lately. Alex was talking about 2 weeks ago, me and 2 other women helped organize a big press conference at our Capitol. So we were really fortunate. We had about 8 Texas House representatives and a couple senators show up to speak. And we were really pushing hard to stop these mandates and put pressure on our governor. That's our website he's showing right now. That's our website that we created to help inform people and share. Okay. Oh, yep. Here's our press conference video. So we had a lot of people join us. It was a lot of hard work putting it together, but the whole thing was about all these bills that we could get passed right now to stop these mandates in Texas. We put a lot of pressure on Governor Abbott. Congressman Louis Gohmert, too, was going to fly in for it and be a part of it, but he couldn't make it. So he sent me a statement that I read. So it went very, very well. And then we did that. And then within the next couple of days, a huge part of Governor Abbott's Republican Party also sent him a letter stating that he needed to stop the mandates. And then I'm pretty sure you heard what happened at Southwest Airlines. The very following weekend after that, they all basically called in sick, and it made them cancel like over 1,500 flights. So all this happening back to back put so much pressure on him. I don't know if you've heard, but our governor actually signed an executive order, which was amazing. This executive order is trying to stop all the mandates. All the exemptions are supposed to pass. Like, it's a great executive order, but our special session just ended on the 19th, and we tried hard. There were a few good bills that could have been passed, but unfortunately nothing passed. So the executive order is still standing in play for now, but we're finding out, so unfortunately, a lot of them will not go against big business. They don't want to go against big business. Some are corrupt, unfortunately. Some areas might be getting a lot of money from these big businesses, so it's very hard to get these bills passed. But we were fortunate to get the executive order, but a lot of the companies aren't honoring the executive order. So they're still requiring these mandates. So the amount of lawsuits that are about to happen here are going to be astronomical. So we're striving forward, doing a lot of speaking events, protests. We've got a concert coming up here in Texas too, November 21st, which is going to be a benefit to our lawsuit. Since we should be heading to the Supreme Court, we're in the appellate court right now. So we're looking, actually, if anyone's interested, for more sponsorships too, to help our concert going. It should be a big event down here in the New Caney area. It's in Montgomery County because it's a little bit more conservative. So that's some of the things we've been doing here lately.
Well, that's fantastic, Jennifer. And if folks could again mute themselves and not speaking. Alex, is there a minute or so excerpt that we could show, or should we show at the end of the program? Or what's your thoughts, Alex?
We've had a few patient people, including NHF President Scott Tips, with their hand raised, so maybe we can address those questions real quick. Scott, would you like to?
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Alex, for noticing the raised hand. I appreciate it. At least it has been noticed. First of all, I just wanted to say to Jennifer, you continue to be an inspiration to all of us, Jennifer. Oh, yes, thank you for that. I mean, we even put at least her silhouette on the cover of the magazine, fighting the Goliath that's out there. And you really hit the nail on the head, Jennifer, when you said there's so many of these representatives and senators, state and otherwise, who are beholden to big business, certainly big pharmaceutical companies. I was actually going to ask you, and you kind of already answered it in the time I was waiting to talk, about Governor Abbott's executive order. My understanding was that the order was in effect until the special session could convene and actually pass legislation. Is that the case? And secondarily, has it had an impact on your lawsuit against Houston Baptist Hospital? Has it, or Methodist, sorry. Has it had against Houston Methodist? Sorry, I grew up a Methodist, so I can't believe, that they would do such a horrible thing as fire a competent nurse as you. So I blame it on the Baptists instead. But anyway, did it have any effect on your lawsuit, this executive order?
Well, our lawyer, Jared Woodfill, really thinks it's going to have a good impact on our lawsuit, but he even sent a letter over to Methodist and their lawyers pretty much stating that he would that they should consider reinstating all of us due to this executive order. But last I've heard, we have not heard a response back yet from them, but they are very arrogant and very much stuck in their ways. So I don't think they're going to look at reinstating any of us, but we'll see. You never know.
I'm sorry, have they obviously know what's going on with the FEMA nurses, as you described, the unvaccinated ones. So I'm sorry, please continue, because I didn't mean to cut you off.
Oh, no, that's okay. That's the part I always try to emphasize to people, is even any logical thing that we know, everybody's just ignoring and discrediting. So it's so disheartening. But basically, a lot of your smaller businesses and that are backing off now because of the executive order. Some of the bigger ones have, but people have forwarded me emails from the CEOs at several of these hospitals now, and they're still requiring the mandate. They're stating that they've even stated they're very disappointed with the governor's executive order. But yes, these emails are stating that they're disappointed with the order and that they're still going to continue on with the mandates to help protect everybody. And, the typical BS that they try to say about it. But that's going to create, and I talked to my lawyer about that, and it's just going to create so many more lawsuits since they're going to be going against this executive order. Yeah. And then some of the people at the Capitol, we're going to work on ways that, everybody who's denying this executive order, you can reach out to the Attorney General, you can file complaints. And if you've got, 30, 40,000 people doing this, they're going to have to look into it and start doing something to these companies that are just disregarding this executive order. But
that's a great idea. That's a great idea. The other thing I was wondering, if I can ask you real quickly, is if you have a list of the, shall we say, recalcitrant legislators in the Texas legislature, whom we could put pressure on, district by district across the state to get them to sign on to the executive order or whatever the bill is that would pass, that would help us. That would be great. And we could help marshal some forces there to do that. And in conjunction with other organizations, probably we could have a big impact.
That would be great. We almost had a bill. We had a bill during special session and it just ended, unfortunately, but it passed the Senate committee. But then when it went to get the votes, this blew our mind, but literally 5 different Republican senators were the ones that stopped it because they refused to go against big business. So you can only speculate, different reasons why, but unfortunately our special session is over and there's no word yet of a 4th one coming into play to pass any more bills. There's been talk that it might happen, but if we don't get another special session, they won't be able to even, try to pass any more bills. But the executive order does still stay in place. From what they were telling me, yes, which is great because the executive order, if you look it up, it's actually perfect. If we could get a bill passed of the same nature, it would be amazing. But that'll stay in place as long as, Governor Abbott doesn't take it down or do something, or another bill passes. And then his reelection is next year. So those are the only things that can stop it, basically.
Yeah, that sounds great. And if we could just get the names of those 5 Republican senators, there may be a way to put some pressure on them. So I would really love to have their names. And,
okay, I'll get it for you.
If you don't mind. Okay, thank you. Anyway, that's all I had to say.